Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for a post-update Battlefront 2 video. Yesterday, DICE released the Age of Rebellion update, which I think most would agree is pretty great. It's certainly one of my favorites. I have mostly been playing with the reworked heroes. Leia and Chewbacca are both significantly different now, and while I was originally going to make a separate video just discussing my thoughts on those changes as well as the one to Boba Fett, a bunch of news dropped today I wanted to cover while it was still relevant, so instead I'll just discuss my thoughts on the new hero changes after we've handled today's news, as I know some of you guys are here for that. With that said, let's not waste any time and just get into something that was leaked just hours ago, and I think a lot of you longtime players are going to be really excited for these star card loadouts. These were found in the files earlier today by a user on Reddit who I'll credit on screen, and from what I can see this feature is mostly working and will allow you to have multiple units for every unit in the game easily accessible, and you can have different weapons attached to those loadouts as well. If you're confused at all by what I'm talking about with found in the files of the game, this has been happening since the launch of Battlefront 2. When DICE releases a new update, the files of the game will often include features they've recently been working on but aren't ready to release yet. Loadouts for different builds is something people have been asking for since the dawn of mankind. Having to switch all of your star cards between game modes gets really tedious, especially with heroes, so being able to have a dedicated loadout for modes like Galactic Assault, Heroes vs Villains, and Hero Showdown will be so nice, and this is something I am just looking forward to more than just about anything lately. As of right now, these are just in the files but not active in-game, so there's no saying when exactly we'll be able to use these. It'll definitely be in the next update or two, I would think next month. Seeing as they look done or very close to it, I'd imagine the March update is a safe bet. Moving on, and this is great news for those of you who play offline, it looks like we may soon have the ability to play co-op offline if we want to. A French Battlefront fan asked our community manager Ben if that was a possibility because he is an offline player, to which Ben replied in French, saying offline co-op is something the team was thinking about. The second half of his response doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I imagine it's something lost in translation, but he says they don't have information on the subject yet. If there are any French speakers watching who can make that second half of the translation make a little more sense, I would definitely appreciate it. Either way, this information goes hand in hand with another leak from the files this morning, as the same leaker who found the star card loadouts also mentioned finding evidence of newly added offline co-op missions in the files. So this is probably something they're in the early stages of testing out, and I think this would be a great way to give the game some longevity, because right now, say in 5 years when not a lot of people are playing and you want to play offline, you have instant action and the campaign, and that's about it. There wouldn't be a ton to do, and adding co-op to that would be so great. Moving on, we have yet another tease from Ben on the topic of new skins for the villains. Yesterday on Twitter, a few users were tweeting back and forth about DICE really needing to add new skins for the dark side, a conversation Ben decided to jump into just to say new appearances would be nice. About a month ago, he did something similar in conversation about Maul skins, jumping in just to say other heroes need skins before Rey gets another one, and he thinks a new skin for Maul would be way better. If you don't know, this is how Ben teases everything, and now he's doubled down, so expect at least one villain skin likely for Maul, but hopefully they do a whole batch, because the villains have like no appearances whatsoever, whereas the heroes have a ton. Vader, Maul, Bosk, Boba Fett, and Palpatine all have a grand total of 0 combined skins, whereas heroes like Han and Leia have something like 15 between the two of them. So needless to say, we really need some dark side customization love, and I'll keep you guys updated with any updates on this. Speaking of skins, Ben did mention that Farm Boy Luke and Princess Leia skins will become available again this month, just to celebrate the original trilogy update, so if you missed out on the other times those were available, you'll be able to pick those up at some point. We don't know exactly when yet, but I'll be sure to keep you guys posted because I know if I didn't have those ones, I would really want to get my hands on them, and actually, I missed them on PC. I have them on PS4, but don't have them on PC yet, so I'll definitely get in on that when it does happen. Ben also announced a bunch of fixes to various bugs, which unfortunately most of which were introduced yesterday, which kinda just seems to be a given with updates these days, but it is what it is. I shouldn't even say these days, it's just always been that way, but there's not much we can do about it. The issue with troopers spawning in with the wrong skins and sometimes models in co-op has been fixed on DICE's end, meaning they have a fix ready in the studio, but we'll need to update the game to fix it for us, so I don't know when we'll see that fix, hopefully soon. This is a surprisingly big issue and goes much deeper than some would think. I wish I'd recorded it, but this morning I was playing Hoth on co-op, and all of the Imperials spawned in as rebel officers, which was not only extremely confusing, but it just kinda takes you out of it. There's really not much immersion there when you're fighting yourself as a rebel. It happens on various maps in a ton of different ways. I've had snowtroopers on the Death Star as well, so hopefully this gets fixed really soon. DICE also has a fix coming for two very similar issues, one that spawns you on the opposite team in co-op. I've been playing playing with friends and then ended up playing on the other side completely by myself, and they're also fixing the issue with lobbies that fill up only on one side and never start, which I notice a lot in Galactic Assault. There is no worse feeling than loading into your favorite map, and then realizing the lobby is broken and the match will never start. I feel heartbroken every time when that happens on Naboo. I'm hoping DICE puts out a small patch in early March to fix these issues before the March update, instead of just waiting to fix these until the very end of the month. Also, just in case you missed it, a very small tease of Scarif was released yesterday showcasing how the map is coming along so far. If you played Battlefront 2015, you already mostly know what it'll look like, as they're just porting that map over. If you didn't, I released a video on Battlefront 2015 Scarif late last week, so if you want to check out the map yourself, that one is pretty recent. Moving on, I do want to talk about the hero changes a little bit, and we may as well start off with Leia, who has been completely reworked. Other than her primary blaster, just about every part of her kit has been completely changed. Her E11 now deals more damage and more importantly has pretty crazy range. Her shield will now heal Leia even past her regular health regeneration limit, and her flash grenade is now completely gone and has been replaced by not one thermal detonator but 3. And yeah, DICE did a pretty great job with this. Leia is very strong now. I'm not sure where I'd rank her overall. I wouldn't put her above Han or anything, at least in HVV, but she is very capable of taking on just about anyone now. Her shield is pretty nifty and heals you fast enough, at least in Galactic Assault, where you can operate almost like Bosk and just retreat after taking heavy damage and then regenerate back to full. Her E11 absolutely shreds after the damage and range buff. For the longest time it was a little redundant. Her pistol actually dealt more damage in less time than her E11, so the main reason to use her E11 was for the 25% damage reduction you can get with a star card. And if you combine that with the card that increases the length of the ability, you could have decent damage reduction for a while, but you had to use a weapon that dealt slightly less damage than her pistol and also had pretty horrific range. Now it's a joy to use, and combine that with the damage reduction, it's a little crazy. I have dropped heroes who either can't block or for some reason don't block in like 3 seconds. Her new grenades are also very good. They're definitely better in Galactic Assault or just large-scale game modes in general, as in choke points having 3 thermal detonators feels absolutely ridiculous, but they're quite good in HVV and Hero Showdown as well. It's better to throw them into Chaos where they won't be noticed until it's too late, as they do have the weakness of having a near second-long fuse, which does make them quite easy to dodge if you're a villain who is paying attention in the slightest. Her grenades do have some problems. I've noticed they'll just go randomly into cooldown when you haven't used them at times, and the animation where she throws them just doesn't activate sometimes, making it seem like they're just randomly flying out of her, which is just a little disconcerting, and sometimes I'm just confused whether I've thrown them or not. Sometimes they just don't go off. I really don't know. They're a little bit inconsistent, but those bugs are relatively rare. They don't happen all the time to me, and I'm sure they'll get taken care of quickly. Either way though, Leia changes were long overdue, so I'm glad they finally made her at least on par with the rest of the light side gang. Chewbacca's changes also went live yesterday, and I would say the changes to his bowcaster are probably the most underrated part of this update. His bowcaster now functions much differently, as can be seen in the background gameplay, and ADSing also allows him to fire a single condensed shot, which deals pretty decent damage at medium range, something he has always really struggled with. Anything past close, and previous Chewbacca was just not so good. I probably need some more time with him, but every game I used Chewie yesterday, I just went off. I'm not sure if that was just lobby luck or he's really just that good now. Like I said, I'll need more time to get a firm opinion. He's definitely much better than he was for sure, and a more viable option in large-scale game modes where he's always just failed to be on the same level as other light side heroes like Han, who I tend to choose as a comparison because he's so good in so many situations. I'm glad they worked on Chewie a bit though. I've been really enjoying the changes in all game modes, and if you haven't tried his Rework bowcaster, I would definitely recommend giving it a shot. Boba Fett also had a slight tweak to his concussion missile yesterday, as his blaster disabler star card, the one that overheats enemy blasters for a short time after they've been concussed, was integrated with his default ability, so you don't have to run a card for that now. Unfortunately, the blaster disabler effect still has the same problem it has always had, which is that it just doesn't work half the time and doesn't disable blasters consistently, which just kinda makes it really difficult to rely on. If they ever fix it, it will certainly add a fun dynamic to Boba's playstyle, but until then, just consider it a nice bonus when it works, but don't put yourself in a situation where you'll get killed if it doesn't. I really think if they just fixed his concussion missile to reliably disable blasters and also added a small damage value, maybe something like 50, it would be a pretty good ability, but as it stands, it could definitely be better. Well guys, that is going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed it and could leave a like, I would greatly appreciate it as it does really help out the channel. Also, if you are new to the channel, feel free to subscribe. We just hit 200,000 subscribers and we are now on the road to 250,000. I will have another video out Saturday for sure, and I'm considering doing an updated guide for Leia if that's something you guys would like to see, so if so, let me know in the comments down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. I'm jumping in my ride, I'm heading out tonight. I'm solo, I'm riding solo.